Folk Studio 451 is proud to present Pioneer History of Orleans County, New York by Arad Thomas, edited and annotated by A. Burris. Chapter 10. Public Highways. Although Ridge Road had been used by the Indians from time immemorial, after the land was newly purchased from Morris, Judge Porter and others became interested in surveying and locating the large tract of land west of the Genesee River, known as the Triangle. The Indians informed them about a gravelly ridge extending from the Genesee River to the Niagara River. Consequently, in 1798, Porter and his associates hired a surveyor named Eli Granger. Granger, along with a few men, traced a road along this ridge from river to river, which became known as the Ridge Road, aligning closely with its current location. Improvements were made by cutting out trees and making the crossings at the streams of water more passable. Yet many large trees still obstructed the carriageway, and bridges were wanted in many places. In April 1814, the legislature of the state appropriated $5,000 and appointed commissioners to apply the sum on improvements to the road between Rochester and Lewiston, as the commissioners should think proper for the public benefit. This appropriation, together with the labor of the few inhabitants then living on this route, made the Ridge Road a tolerably fair wagon road. The following year, the road was formally planned, surveyed, and established by Philetus Swift and Caleb Hopkins under an act of the legislature, passed February 10, 1815. 37 years later, in 1852, a subsequent act provided for a resurvey of the Ridge Road from Rochester to Lewiston. John LaValle, Grosvenor Daniels, and William J. Babbitt were appointed commissioners to superintend the work through Orleans County. Darius W. Cole of Medina was the surveyor, and the road was resurveyed and established 6 rods wide, approximately 100 feet. The Oak Orchard Road was the first highway crossing Orleans County, north and south, that was opened and worked. Supposing, as everybody then did, that the trade from this part of the county must go by the lake, and that Oak Orchard Harbor would be its place of embarkation, the Holland Company and the settlers, at an early day, opened this road for teams by making log causeways through wet places and bridging the streams. It was a rough road, but teams could get through with light loads as early as before the war. Andrew A. Ellicott built a mill on the Oak Orchard Creek at Shelby Center, about the year 1813. To accommodate travel to this mill and promote the sale of the land, the Holland Company cut out a highway leading from the Oak Orchard Road near the county poorhouse to Shelby Center. This highway followed the highest ridge of land, crooking about on places where it could be easiest constructed. It is still used as a public highway and is traveled on or near the line originally followed. This was the first road cut out for teams, east and west, south of the ridge, as the timber that grew in this county was generally hardwood and decayed soon. Few fallen trees or logs lay in the woods to obstruct teams passing anywhere in the forest, where standing timber or swamps did not prevent. The course of travel was directed by marked trees until enough inhabitants had come in to lay out and work roads. Before the forest was cleared from this county, much of the land was wet, and in fitting a highway for travel, a large amount of log causeway had to be laid in places now dry, hard land. Where the Oak Orchard Road crosses the canal in Albion, and for many rods north and south of the canal, such a causeway was laid. Indeed, many farms in a wild state were not taken by settlers at first because they were so low and wet. Now, by draining the water off and cutting away the trees, they are the best farming land in the neighborhood. The Ridge Road was 6 rods wide, and the Oak Orchard Road was 4 rods wide. When selling lands bordering the Ridge Road or the Oak Orchard Road, the Holland Company bounded the tract they sold by the outer lines of the road, which made the land covered by the roads public property. In selling lands on all other roads, they deeded to the center of the highway. When no natural obstruction prevented it, highways were laid out on the lot lines according to the company's survey. The owners of the lots on each side then gave up their half of the road. Works were put up by the Holland Company for the manufacture of salt at the salt springs north of Medina as early as 1805 and opened for use by the settlers. To facilitate access to these works, the company cut out 2 roads at about the same time, one leading south from the works to the Old Buffalo Road, and the other southeasterly to the Oak Orchard Road. These highways were known as the Salt Works Road. When the manufacture of salt there was discontinued, the Salt Works Road was abandoned. Frequently, when a new road became a necessity, all the settlers would turn out with their teams, cut out the trees and clear them from the roadway, and build such sluiceways as were necessary. A highway could then be worked up when the roots had rotted out, and the people of the district were able to do so. And so, about the year 1824, the people along the Ridge Road turned out on the 4th day of July and celebrated the day by cutting out a highway from the ridge north to Waterport, which is now the road leading from Eagle Harbor to Waterport. On April 2, 1827, the legislature passed an act appointing John P. Patterson, Almon H. Millard, and Otis Turner as commissioners to locate and lay out a public highway, 4 rods wide, from Rochester to Lockport, on or near the banks of the Erie Canal. These commissioners, with Jesse P. Haynes of Lockport as the surveyor, established the highway. For most of its length, the road was laid out on the south side of the canal. The records of the survey and highway were filed in the county clerk's offices and in the towns it passed through on October 1, 1827. The law required town commissioners of highways to open the road for travel where it served public convenience, which they did in most areas. However, many sections of the road were never opened, resulting in the public losing the right to use it due to non-use. This road was known as the State Road and is referred to as State Street in the village of Albion. Chapter 11. Railroads in Orleans County. On May 5, 1834, an act of legislature was passed incorporating the Medina and Darien Railroad Company to construct a railroad. The road was built from Medina to Akron in Erie County, a distance of 12 or 14 miles, and was fitted for cars to be drawn by horses. It went into operation in about 1836. However, after a short trial, it was found to be an unprofitable investment. The track was taken up and the road was discontinued. This failed railroad had been the only one officially incorporated in this county. In 1836, the legislature incorporated the Medina and Ontario Railroad Company to construct a railroad between Medina and Lake Ontario at the mouth of Oak Orchard Creek, though nothing further was done to open the road. Finally, the Rochester, Lockport, and Niagara Falls Company was organized on December 10, 1850. The railroad passes through the county near the Erie Canal on the south side. This road has since been consolidated in the New York Central Railroad, by which name it is now known, its original corporate name being dropped. The construction of this railroad has proved to be of immense benefit to Orleans County.
Learn more about this series at pioneerhistory.us.